Doug White from Model Car Muse. We are here at the Classic Plastic Model Car Club just outside of Boston. I'm with Doug Estabrook, the door slammer, drag race car guy. I've known him for a ton of years, big on replicas. You're always replicas.
Yes, I like documenting replicas. I like doing replicas from the 60s, 70s, and 80s because I just think the cars had personality back then.
So this is an important car. From day one, amazing history.
What they did was, this gentleman bought this Corvette brand new. It was an L88 427 motor. They raced it down in Long Island. They lived out near Baldwin Motion. And before he got to do anything really with it, he ended up getting drafted and going to Vietnam. Well, he lost his life in Vietnam. So this car sat in the garage for many, many years. The thing was, he always wanted to set a record with this car on a drag strip. So two of his friends talked to Chaz's mother and said, can we take this out and set a record with it? So they took it to a drag strip out on Long Island and they set a record and then they put it back in the garage. That's all the kid wanted to do, was he wanted to set a national record, so he did. The car sat in storage for years and years and years and years and years. And they, like I said, once they set the record, they put it back in the garage. The kit started out as a 67 Corvette, and the decals on it were done by a friend of mine, Whoopie Cat decals. And he had just started fooling around with the gold tints on it, so that's why I liked it. It's Marlboro maroon, the same color that the car was. And it took a while. There was a few issues on it. The bent windows were a nightmare to put on without messing them up. The car does not come with an up top. I had to get that out of a 63 kit, and I went online to get some pictures of it to see. And there's thousands of pictures of this car out there, all different, all shapes and sizes. I'd never seen the car. I just had magazine pictures, and so that's kind of where I built it. It was a 427 4-speed car. It had the independent rear suspension in it. I don't know how he didn't blow that thing up a few times, but
that was the weak point on all these.
Yeah. And I put the right wheels on it. The Kragers were what was on it, and the side pipes. It was a good build. It was a fun build. I think cars like this should be paid homage to. It's just
absolutely
because this is the history. This is the history of drag racing back then. Drag racing has nothing to it anymore. Every car is the same. Everything looks just different paint jobs. Back then, that was different from that. Was different from that.
I mean, there was so much research. Joel Rosen and his crew would get in there, and they would just work out every detail to get that engine to run perfectly and set records. That was his goal.
Yeah. This is actually the first show it's been to. I built it a couple of years ago when COVID was going on.
You used photo etch?
Yeah, there's a little photo etch in it.
There's a motion envelope on the
valve cover.
Valve cover.
Yep. I don't go too crazy with photo etch because to me it's aggravating and it has a tendency to spring out of my tweezers. It was a stock color. It was Marlboro maroon, which had a very, very weak metallic in it. But if you look close enough, you can see the metallic. I got that from Model Car World Paints.
Yeah. And good stuff.
Yeah.
You have another Corvette. Can we go take a look at that?
Sure. This was a car that went to Indianapolis on its first race and won junior stock out in Indy. Revell had just come out with a 62 Corvette kit. And even though the car is a 61, the real car, I figured this was close enough for me. Very nice kit. Went together pretty easy. But you got to start going through your parts boxes and look for carburetors and look for all the old stuff.
Make it real in the replica.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine did these decals for me. The decals were made and they were a little thick to my taste, but what are you going to do? You're asking somebody to make something nobody's ever made before. The gentleman that owned the car, his name was Larry Lombardo, who later on down the road ended up driving Pro Stocks for Bill Jenkins. But I was always under the impression that this car was built with a Bill Jenkins motor in it, but it wasn't. It was this Sinastri, engine by Sinastri, and they're down in Pennsylvania. Guy still has a garage in Reading. As a matter of fact, I got an email from him one day and said, "You ever want to sell that car? Give me a call." I might take him up on it,
Wow.
But one of the things was the decals on the roof. They fractured. I hit them in water and I took them out, and they just disappeared. So we had to mask it off and just, how many stripes has this thing got,
Junior stocks. What was the significance of stripes on the roof?
That was something that the Ram Chargers did on their funny cars.
Yeah.
And nobody could really figure it out. Well, Bill Jenkins ended up putting red stripes on that Nova that he ran, the red and white Nova.
Sure. Yeah.
He was kind of screwing on those guys, But then everybody started, I don't know what the detraction was, but every 55 or 6 or 7 Chevrolet, if you didn't have roof stripes, they threw you out,
Right, especially on a wagon.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
But the junior stockers were usually all small block cars, small horsepower. And then, of course, you had the super stockers, which were the 427s and the Hemis and all the big stuff. Well, this had a 283 in it. There was a 270 horse with 2 4-barrels on it. And again, the reason why I like doing these replicas is because you got to do a little research on them. And they're not, you don't see one on every table,
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I like it.
What's the story behind it?
Yeah.
Got history.
Yeah. Oh, it was a 68 national championship. He won junior stock in 1968. The gentleman that bought it, one of the auctions, I don't know if it was Meekum or one of the big auctions, the guy that owns it, I got an email from him also. Do you want to sell this? And I said, I'll have to get back to you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So that's about it. Like I said, it came out pretty good. I used the right size wheels, the right size slicks.
Yeah. Stance is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things you had to keep the stock stance. You couldn't. A lot of them would jack up the front for weight transfer, but in the stock eliminated, they didn't allow you to do too much. What they did with these cars to make them so quick was what you couldn't see. I mean, there was a story one time about Sox and Martin that what they used to build for super stock cars, they put mercury in the roll cage in one of their super stock cars, and what it did was it was on a tube down the bottom by the side of the driver's door.
Yeah.
Well, when it would go on the scales right, it would balance out right. Everybody's weight was fine. When they pulled up and dropped that clutch, where's that mercury go? Right to the. Can you imagine driving down thing and having that thing leak or explode on you?
That's a genius idea.
Well, that's what makes
good
these.
idea at the
That's what
time.
makes these things
Yeah.
the way they are. So that's it, Dougie.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Thank you very much for looking.
Yeah.